I thought I'd do a little update of what happened at Members Forum and at the CIOB conference last week. A lot of that was with John and myself, and I thought the best way to put it forward was a bit of a summary by video, and it kind of reflects some of the new policy of the CIOB sharing information and communications much more positively. I'm going to try and keep it to about 10 minutes, but because I waffle a lot, I'm going to rush through as quickly as I can. It started very much with the Code of Conduct, and Paul Nash, who was the president and has just been handed over. He put in place a new Code of Conduct which we all voted on, which means that in the UK and internationally there's very clear standards that being a member of the CIOB we have to adhere to. So really positive in that it deals with ethics, it deals with safety, it deals with minimum standards when we put contracts in place with clients, and that will be coming through in the next couple of months with probably quite a bit of comms around it, highlighting the professional nature of the CIOB. Particularly poignant when we look at some of the issues with quality around the industry, that being a member of the CIOB should mean that we're part of a wider organisation that understands the values of construction. The conference then moved on to mental health. They brought in Clive Johnson, who was the head of safety, environment and wellbeing for Land Securities, one of the massive players in the industry. Some real sad stories about people that committed suicide. I was really shocked to learn 2 people commit suicide every week in construction. That's more than any other industry in the UK. We talked about all the stresses of working in the industry, with how long you work, how you miss your family, and how you're often very isolated and we're transient. John went through, and we'll just cover it in 3 or 4 points, some real game changers about design of offices, so people can sit together, free breakfast in the morning where you get to sit with your colleagues, and so very much about the psychology about people talking to each other. And what I thought was most impressive is, instead of just having first aiders, they have mental first aiders. So 1 in 10 people are trained for 2 days on how to deal with mental health issues. These are the kind of guidelines that are going to be coming through the CIOB, with probably some working papers of how we can improve mental health within the construction industry. And a big focus on working better together, and some other organisations we're going to be collaborating with. We then, the next day, went on a site visit. To my surprise, it was a Kia project, and it was the hottest day of the year. And some of the Chinese people were asking, how do you deal with the heat with your construction force? And the director for the job was saying, look, this only happens 1 week in 20 years. It's normally dealing with snow and rain and sleet. So great visit, and kind of broke up the conference for a day of actually being out there and touching and feeling some of the construction projects out there. We then went into Members Forum, which is where obviously I was representing one of the boards, and on the actual day there was a big focus on the new special interest groups and the launch of a new academy, all about different courses being organised for the construction industry through the CIOB. They recognised some of their failures, and also listening far more to what employers want their staff to be trained in, and delivering that side. So that was very positive. The other side was looking at a preference related comms. So we all get emails, and we get letters, and we get different ways that we're communicated with. CIOB investing into a new system where the user will actually say how they would like to be communicated and to what level. They felt that was a big step forward on a focused nature of communications, and I know we've talked about it, especially with Mark, where Mark, we've looked at some of the strategies we were thinking about over Facebook and LinkedIn. That was kind of all discussed, and I did raise a few queries there, and that's part of a wider strategy where they're going to be happy to talk to us about that. Another thing that is being launched this year, I think in August, is the event management tool. And this is very much how, if you want to go to a CPD event, you can pay online, you can look at, are there spaces free, and it kind of takes away a lot of the pain I think we go through of putting events together. That was put forward very positively, but there was a bit of a knockback from some of the members of that there will be a fee when you pay, and also, and this is actually a booking fee, and also the £25 for people that are non-members was discussed at length, and it was agreed they were going to put forward a little committee to get that discussed and agreed, and I think the outcome of that will probably be they'll drop it to maybe £10, but it was agreed that there would be a fee just to stop other organisations who do charge for their members just to poach our courses for free, where they are required to attend a certain level of CPD, which I had to respect. There's new webinar software coming through, and that does mean some of the CPDs will be filmed and they'll be shared, and there'll be a library of CPDs, so people that can't attend can attend in different ways. They could be live and they could be stored on the server. And there's a big investment happening here on these webinars, with assistants coming into the hubs as well. And Claire, you'd raised that you'd really like to do some videos, and a completely different side to what I've seen to the CIOB. It was very welcoming, and they were saying, great, we can help you here. So I've asked for a bit of help as how we move forward. Things like the welcome packs were raised, and I've asked for a bit more information, which they didn't have on the day, but that should be coming through as one of the actions from Members Forum. Just looking through my notes, there was also a number of queries about one CIOB, and interestingly, the trustees had a whole list of questions which they actually answered in writing before the conference. And I'll circulate those. Good reading, and it meant that actually no one raised any questions, because honestly they'd all been answered. There were a few outstanding issues which were discussed, and that's going to be part of the one CIOB working group, and they're going to report back in the next month on some of those very basic questions, which I think some of it got tidied up, like the postcodes. Like for me, I can't be part of the Birmingham hub. It was agreed, okay, that's gone. Anyone can join any hub, but you can only vote in your local area for those people. Other things that extending, if you've just joined a hub, can you extend more than 1 year? The answer is yes. And this will all get wrapped up in a bit of a summary from them, but really positive of, for the first time I felt people listened, and they put their hands up, said we've made a mistake, and actually we're going to make some changes. So normally Mark, that moans a lot at these kind of conferences, sat back with a big smile on his face, feeling, yep, I really support the Members Forum. Novus had then the next day a separate workshop dealing with the improvements to Novus. There was a lot of really good outcomes of that, like apps that could join Novus up a bit more, having a mentor program, having people visiting the hubs, having trustees allocated to a hub and to Novus. Unfortunately, the results of the Novus report, for me, I think is just going to fall into a black hole of a big long list of nice to haves. So I'm actually having a separate meeting with the new managing director, Terry, to kind of, because he's very keen for someone like me to be a little bit more involved in driving forward the improvements with Novus. So I'm going to come back to you separately on what's happening with Novus, but where they feel, for me, it's one of the most important parts of the CIOB, and they wave this huge Novus flag. There's a complete lack of investments in this area, and I'm going to try and get Terry to spend some of the budget in these areas. But the final thing I want to talk about, because I wanted to try and keep this in 10 minutes, was the big change to the conference was the sway towards quality. And this is all about the fire at Glenfield Tower. And we actually collaborated with the RIBA. We had Ben, who is the president-elect for the RABA join us for a workshop on quality within construction. And again, it was when the room went silent, when people were talking about the quality issues over the fire, and also all the defects that are being found in the schools in Scotland, and where some people were being very honest, saying, well, actually, that problem in Scotland is all throughout the UK, and it's not just with the walls, it's with every part of the building. So we've got a huge issue in front of us over build quality, and half the day was spoken negatively about understanding the problems we have, but then in collaboration with the RABA, some really good ideas about how we can drive quality back into the industry came out. Now that is a whole piece of work that all the past presidents of the CIOB are going to be undertaking with support from members and other bodies. And I think that actually hit the press recently, and the past president's quality kind of commission that Paul Nash is leading. And companies like Kier and the big main contractors are all going to be part of that. So good news that hopefully out of a huge disaster we're going to see some improvement of quality over our buildings rather than just price and program, and some toolkits coming out of how that can happen. So I think overall, you know, it was quite a serious side, where normally there'd been a lot of partying and drinking. It was completely different this year. It was a very serious tone to how the industry needs to change. I think we all felt very proud being there, and hopefully the input from the people from around the world, because there was over 20 countries with 100 representatives focusing on some real issues, mental health, build quality. There should be a bit of a change over the next year positively. So that's me, that's a bit of a wrap up. Hopefully, well, it's 12 minutes instead of 10, so and any questions, just drop me an email. Okay, have a good day, bye bye.